Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Fred, and today I'd like to share a story with you about Maya Parbhoe, the presidential candidate from Suriname. I heard Maya speak at the Bitcoin Amsterdam conference and I was truly inspired. A young and educated person with strong moral values is exactly what any country needs. There is a great chance Suriname could become the next Bitcoin country if she gets elected, so we all as Bitcoiners should support Maya in her mission to turn Suriname orange. Now let's watch her chat with Frank Corva at Bitcoin Amsterdam 2024.
I think it's starting to need no introduction. Maya Parbhoe, running for president of Suriname on a pro-Bitcoin platform. The companies that I need to get there. Yeah, proud of one bird in the song. Maya, please introduce yourself a little bit, and also please just give us a little bit of context for what's happening right now in Suriname and why Bitcoin is something that would be helpful to the country.
Thank you for the introduction, Frank. My name is Maya Parbhoe. I've been in office of yours since I was about 15 years old. So I've been working for the last 21 years running multiple companies, ranging from import to logistics and infrastructure. So we build roads, dams, and dikes. And for the past 6 years, I've dedicated myself full-time to increasing Bitcoin adoption in the country and developing our capital market on a Bitcoin standard. And last year, after Jan 3, we've been working with them for about a year with the current government. After Samson came to Suriname and we had meetings with the president, shortly afterward, actually, things went kind of silent, and I unveiled large-scale corruption happening by government. One of the president's advisors actually mining Bitcoin with 10% of the country's capacity since 2021. That's what kind of did it in for me, where Samson was already pushing for me to run, and I decided that I need to throw my hat in the ring to save the country from this systemic corruption that has just been happening decade after decade after decade.
Yeah, and I think one of the most impactful things, or maybe perhaps the most impactful thing you said when I first spoke to you for a piece that I published for Bitcoin magazine was how personally the corruption has affected you. So I don't know if you want to go too deep into it, but maybe provide some context as to what happened a little bit earlier in your life as a result of your father seeking out some of the corruption in the country.
Yes, so I grew up basically with my dad being one of the most well-known entrepreneurs in Suriname, and he was always, building multiple companies, helping out people, and he was working on developing what he wanted a Plaza Hotel in Suriname, Plaza Hotel in Casino. And somewhere along the line, things went sour. The largest bank in the country, the Suriname Bank, started funneling money out of our accounts. And things just went south very fast. And one day before an article was released where it was unveiling that corruption, we went to our current president, who was at the time the Minister of Justice. We went to the central bank, we went to the authorities. Nothing happened. And a day before an article was published, she was assassinated, liquidated at a local cafe. And I was 12 years old at the time, and it just, it has such an impact on your life at that age. Seeing one corruption, like the effect that corruption has, and the fact that, the drug trafficking, money laundering, what happens in Latin America and a lot of the Caribbean, the impact that it has on people, and this systemic corruption and censorship in my own country that is still going on until today, the impact that has had on my life and still has on everybody's lives right now. Our country doesn't need to be the way it is right now. It should be one of the most wealthy. It was the 17th wealthiest in the world. We have enough natural resources. We have oil, gold in abundance. It should be a developed nation, but it's systematically being held back thanks to corruption. So that's my personal motivation to be doing this.
And while not everyone in the country has been impacted as personally on that level that you just shared, you have shared with me that because of what's happening now with inflation as a result of sanctum corruption of the country, people are just basically living in survival mode. So, and for context, Suriname has about 600,000 people. It's it's a very, very rich country, as you just mentioned. So, if the value of the country was actually being sorted out properly and distributed properly to the population, everyone there should be able to do like the queens and kings of a state. So can you talk a little bit about that, people in survival mode and you trying to change that in part by using Bitcoin, moving Suriname to a Bitcoin standard eventually?
Well, people have lost hope here, right? They've been seeing their salary decrease year over year, and it just losing value with having amounts of inflation happening with our local currency, the Surinamese dollar. And the average salary right now is between 175 US, 200 US a month. And people are just working 2-3 jobs to be able to survive. They can't afford a home. Interest rates are about 19%. We don't have a developed capital market. It's an Excel sheet that goes around once in a month. So there's no way for them to hedge inflation by investing or saving. So they haven't been able to beat inflation over the last couple of decades either. Their pensions have dwindled. I see Bitcoin as a way to basically just nip corruption in the bud immediately, because of the transparency that it brings. Once you have government spending on the ledger, you could basically track all government spending and make it transparent to the population. That way, if anyone is corrupt, it'll immediately be seen by anyone that's honoring government spending. And just decreasing the size of government. Right now, we have about half of our working population working for government, so it's a very inefficient system. And it has failed us. Our welfare system is collapsing. Our education system is collapsing. The NICU is closed at Suriname main hospital. 6 babies just died. It's completely, our entire economy, our children, they see no future. We had a focus group a couple of weeks ago where we had a 70-year-old that had a certain type of cancer where he needs a bone marrow transplant. And he needs to go to Colombia to get that operation. And it broke my heart to hear him say that if you don't have money in Suriname, if you're not one of the elite, they leave you to die, right? And that is this government, that is the previous government, that is leaders that are 60, 70-year-olds working in government as a career, just figuring out how they can steal as much as they can within a 5-year period. And our entire population knows this. Like, we all know it. We have a running joke that goes like, on today's episode of Suriname is not a real country. It's literally every week some kind of corruption scandal, and then just it ruins everybody's hope out of their life. And just in a couple of interviews that I've done, the hope that it gives people knowing that there is a solution and that there is a community that can back us and that there is an example in El Salvador that it actually works, gives people hope.
You mentioned that before, that you looked at El Salvador, what KJ did. He was dealing with a ton of corruption, a lot of gang activity in a very difficult scenario that he turned around relatively quickly. I think when politicians, when we talk about making change, sometimes people think about, one, will that change ever happen? But two, what would the timeline realistically be and what would that look like? And we've spoken a little bit about the fact that most people don't learn what Bitcoin is and how you use it overnight. So transitioning a country's money to Bitcoin, the education that comes with that, plus the amount of people that are benefiting from the traditional system, the theft that's so involved in that system. You're taking on a lot. I think that's an understatement. So could you just tell us a little bit about maybe some steps in the plan to make this transition to more like?
Well, right now we're working with the team. We have people from all over the world that are volunteering and throwing their hat in the ring and joining us. We're just engaging with Austrian economists that are world renowned and have basically all of the knowledge and skills that we need to implement what I do to implement in Suriname. The next year in May, After the elections, basically the first thing we will do is make Bitcoin legal tender. That will just be a one-day thing. It takes a resolution by the Foreign Exchange Commission. It doesn't have to pass Parliament. And then Bitcoin can be recognized as legal tender immediately. And then within the first year, we want to transition into basically putting the country on a Bitcoin standard. That means people, their salaries being in Bitcoin, replacing the SRV with sats. Basically, what this whole thing was built for, what we've all been striving for, is separating money from state. And that is exactly what we need. We have a small footprint. It's about 97% forested. Set with like a very small 93% forested. Sorry, 7% of the country is populated. So a very small footprint, very small population, very agile. We want to privatize all state-owned companies, decrease government overreach, create opportunity for a more open and free market. Contrary to what you're seeing in Europe, in the US, what they were talking about on the panel just now, that government overreach with CDCs, with surveillance, with basically regulating and over-controlling your life and not letting the free market operate as a free market, that is something that we want to fight. And I believe that that fight is worth it. To fight against fat cats and fight against IMF, fight against World Bank and this neo-colonialism that's been happening in the global south. And be an example for the rest of the world of how it can be when you actually separate money from state, when you let entrepreneurs and creatives thrive, when you let people do what they're best at and just give them the freedom to actually be. I can actually see a future of abundance. I can see a continent thriving. I see a future that is not a dystopia, but it's actually a utopia. And it sounds crazy right now because the world is going to shit and we're heading towards World War III. But I think we need more voices and we need more countries that move towards where we all are, where we already go.
Perfect transition to the next question I wanted to ask, which is which countries or what parts of the world or what entities, jurisdictions do you imagine coming to your aid? So you're going to sort of set this new standard, right? You're the first actual president running on this idea of running a country on a Bitcoin standard. There's obviously going to be, beyond the powers in Suriname that are not going to want to see this happen, there's going to be powers abroad that also do not want to see this happen. I would imagine much of the West for sure. So when it comes to the support that you're going to receive from the international community, what do you envision happening as this transition takes place?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of pushback, right? Because you're fighting against the status quo. So it is not going to be an easy battle. But I do think we have a friend in El Salvador. I do think we have a friend in Argentina. And I do think we have a friend in Switzerland. I think we have friends in Germany, and we have a lot of friends here in the Netherlands. So I'm thinking we can all combine and start working together to actually make all this happen. It's just going to have this snowball effect. Look at how easily they were able to implement global change with COVID and basically lock us up within a couple of months, right? Just imagine the impact we can have if we use all of that power for good instead of evil.
Appreciate that. The Bitcoin community here we like to support each other in this idea of this protocol being something where sort of a tide lifts all boats. But that doesn't happen magically. And a lot of times we talk about hodling and sort of having your Bitcoin and close to retirement fund or something like that. But the reality is there's a lot of communities around the world that are using Bitcoin day to day, as Suriname might be a minute later. I'd like to kind of have you maybe give a little bit of a call to action. So let's say you take on this role, we go for this new vision for Suriname. How can the average person in this room support you in that process?
Well, we have a lot of Bitcoiners that are actually already moving to Suriname or just visiting. So, and a lot of that are actually already just helping from a distance. When we onboard a new person, they send them $1, which is like 31 SRNs and Surinamese, which makes a big difference if 5 people send him $1. We have people that are putting in, their skills, helping out wherever they can, whatever their skill set is, just try and help out. And it's really open source. We're very open. We accept help from everywhere. Visit, come help with the education center. If you want help on the political side, right now we're in the state where we're fundraising. The campaign is starting in November. Then we're going all out in year. So if you can contribute there, if you know somebody in the network that can help, by any means, we're like sourcing this whole thing. So transparency in the campaign itself and transparency in how we execute. So it's a collaborative effort, and we all have to, if we actually want the world to change, we all have to fight for it. If we actually want to separate money from state and build on a Bitcoin standard, then we all need to make it work. So this is a call to action for everybody to throw their hat in the ring and help us out.
How long do you think it would take to reach the majority of 600,000 people? And to, a lot of us realize, you hold Bitcoin, you learn about Bitcoin, and it changes you. We know what that process feels like. How long does it take to change 600,000 people in Suriname?
I think it'll take about a year, similar to, at least for the first steps of changes for them to see an impact. El Salvador had about $1 billion in investment coming in the first year. Our GDP is $3.6 billion, so $1 billion in investment has a massive impact on the economy. Will have a massive immediate impact on people, their lives. The plans and the strategies we have can have an immediate impact on people in the first year already. But we think that it'll have a cumulative effect in 2028 when oil royalties start flowing in, and then we get $2.8 billion annually coming in, flowing into the country, which will flow directly into a sovereign wealth fund for the people. And we don't need government to be an intermediary for that. We can actually have the people directly own a share of the sovereign wealth fund, through the brick, having the denominator But just imagine the flywheel, the spin-off, the effect that will have on our economy. We can run at, without government overspending, we can decrease the size of government. A lot can be privatized. There's no reason why healthcare needs to be in the hands of government. Education, the roads still need to be built by government either. I know we've built them. You can privatize a lot, and you can bring it similar to the Swiss cantonal model. You can bring it down to the locals, down to the district, down to their community level, and have them implement their direct democracy. Like, the amount of technology we have is 2024. Why are we still living in the 1990s, right? It's just because of bureaucratic government and greed. Greed is the only reason we are in this situation. So there's no reason why I cannot change things and start shooting big next year.
I appreciate that. I think we have a minute, but instead of asking one for the last question, just gonna guess, I want to stay about give us one round of applause. So,
I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, check out CryptoSnake Deals for the best discounts on crypto products, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll catch you later.
I'm chilling in private with my